The Cheems Wars, over 10 decisive battles, nations destroyed, 77 billion deaths. Who let it happen, and who came on top? On today's episode, Historical Delusions, we'll be discussing all of this and trying to figure out what and why it happened. June 16, 3782, Cheems Alvarado, the future leader of the Cheems kingdom, is born in the nation of Bavaria. At the age of 32, had become a major political activist in the Civil Union, rebelling against the nation's militaristic decisions, which had mainly been focused on preserving peace. Eventually, riots started from the Civil Union, labeling them as a terrorist organization, and the leader, Jeremy Varandes, had exiled Cheems Alvarado along with 71 members of the Civil Union. After the exile, Cheems Alvarado had vouched to be a leader of the remaining members of the group. Only 1/3 had agreed. The rest were gunned down under Cheems Alvarado's orders. Eventually, they traveled and settled down in parts of the land of Belarus, in which was unused land, and in the nation of the Cheems Federation was born, the date being December 3rd, 3830. January 12th, 3831. Cheems Alvarado struck a deal with the outsider, an unknown being, in order to take much of Europe. For this to happen, Cheems Alvarado planned to distract the other nations in the area in order to have enough time to build a large amount of military supplies and train soldiers. In order to do this, Cheems Alvarado convinced Flopper, the leader of the Flopper kingdom, to launch an attack on Bingus Lake, which was a vital resource for the Bingus kingdom at the time. This had begun the Flop Wars on February 19, 3831, and was one of the longest battles in the Bingus Law, thus distracting major nations that would have posed a threat, allowing the Cheems kingdom to grow the military. January 3rd, 4215. The first sense of the upcoming Cheems Wars were revealed to the world when Cheems Alvarado had launched several missile strikes at his homeland, Bavaria, effectively destroying it. Historians believe that this is a way to show the power of the Cheems kingdom and was a revenge move. However, at the time, Cheems Alvarado had publicly stated it was for testing purposes and was simply a misfire. Many nations were worried but were not yet willing to go to war. August 9th, 4806. This date is effectively known and agreed on as a beginning of the Cheems Wars, as one of the first of many invasions of other nations had begun. The Cheems Federation had begun invading other parts of Belarus, the first nation to suffer its wrath being the Armored Remnants, which was a heavily militaristic nation focused on defense. However, the Cheems kingdom had successfully annexed them within 3 months, due to the surprise attack and advanced military supplies and troop training. The Armored Remnants had no chance, with the Cheems Federation only losing 47 troops and the Armored Remnants losing 29,742. Afterwards, the Cheems Federation had begun a large-scale conquest of Belarus, destroying a Bingus recon camp, leaving only one survivor. This attack allowed the Bingus kingdom early knowledge of the Cheems Wars. This incident is widely criticized as today, as the Bingus kingdom, knowing the growing power of the Cheems Federation, had taken no action. This attack also allowed the Cheems kingdom easier capture of Belarus, with less intervention from the recon camp. The Cheems Federation also bombed the Flopper city located in Belarus in October. The attack cost the lives of 87 million civilians. There were only under 70,000 survivors, over 47,000 of which being imprisoned.
I was in my apartment when all of a sudden the TV changed from the show I was once so familiar with. It was just a normal news report. You know, the average stuff. When it changed, I remembered that ear-blasting, high-pitched, continuous beep emitting from the TV, as if a robotic voice said all this stuff about survival and evacuation. I barely understood, and I heard screaming and people frantically running outside my door. Just minutes later, as I began to comprehend what was happening, there were explosions. I looked outside and the building next to mine was gone, and in ruins. Bodies littered the streets and fire was everywhere. There was a blimp flying above a misty carnage, but I barely remember what happened next. But I ran for the door, grabbing anything I could to take use of, but suddenly, as I was leaving the room, the whole place began tilting. As I saw fire bursting through the halls, I blacked out and woke up in the rubble. It was hours later, and everything I could see for miles was rubble, blood, and bodies. Then I saw soldiers searching the ruins with lights. They were on their own. To be caught in the lights meant death, or at least slavery. My legs were bloodied and weak, but I was able to sneak out of the city, somehow. Eventually, when I made it out to the city, there were other survivors in the camp. I stayed there for days while waiting for help, and everyone was starving, but people were discussing whether a trip to Poland, where the Popcat Kingdom was, would help. So, me and others from the camp, out of desperation, scouted out, and after 3 days we made it, and they accepted us as refugees. But when we tried to tell them about the camp, they said that area was bombed out yesterday. I never forgave myself.
December 19th, 4806. On this day, the Cheems kingdom had fully taken control of Belarus, and with no greater factions to protect the lands, many tribes and neutral towns in Belarus were also destroyed and annexed, causing mass famine on all who opposed the rule of the Cheems Federation. On this day, Cheems gave several speeches, increasing morale immensely, and many survivors barely made it out alive and later died due to starvation. January 4th, 4807. This date is commonly known as a Day of Death, as for on this day, the Cheems Federation had begun a major weapons supply deal with the weapons manufacturing company known as the Boris and Dave Company, which had previously sold to many nations. This resulted in a significant increase of weapons and resources used by the Cheems Kingdom, effectively leading to billions of deaths. The Cheems Kingdom had paid over $47 billion a year to maintain the contract. The company's CEOs would later be prosecuted after the war, with one being executed and the other sent to life in prison for war crimes caused by the Cheems Federation. January 12, 4807. Just a few days after the Day of Death, the Cheems Federation had began a wide-scale invasion of eastern Poland, which at the time was under control of the Jersey United. Many are forced to leave their homes in a panic. However, some stayed home in order to defend their homeland.
An often criticism of the Jersey United is that when the alarms sounded during the invasion, they were sounded far too late, which left civilians with almost no time to leave the area. Pretty much whatever you could take as you were running for the door is all you could take. If you were seconds late, you would likely die. Many theories state the Jesuito was just too bold to sound the alarms.
The battle lasted 11 long months, and Cheems forces were able to push the Jersey United in Estonia after just 9 months, with the intention of annexing them entirely. Many of the civilians are unable to evacuate the area in time, leading to the deaths. However, the Jersey United were able to hold a strong defensive at the Estonia front, As many as their mobile weapons were stored there. After 3 months, the Cheems Federation had halted the invasion and gained more interest towards taking Ukraine. After the war, Jezito III, leader of the Jersey United, gave several speeches again attempting to keep morale from falling below a dangerous rate. However, many were dissatisfied with the government as there was not much time for evacuation. After the battle, Jezito III will push for a higher standard of protection against the Cheems Federation, as to stop them before they go too powerful.
I never like speaking of this topic because of the anger it brings me. But I will tell you, after I was deployed to Estonia as part of an operation to liberate the lands taken by the Cheems by secrecy and subtleness. But the Cheems somehow found out about this operation, and as an act to punish us, they drew their troops in preparation for us. Although our plans was great, we were all slaughtered by the Cheems, and it was just as the offensive began we started our retreat. Most of us were accompanied by civilians from nearby Livonia. I had left before most, so I was considerably further away from the group than anyone else. Everyone considered the retreat to be a safe passage to a safer position, but they were wrong. Suddenly, I started to hear popping sounds, and I could feel the ground shifting under my footing. I had never felt a feeling like this before. It was like the earth had churned the soil beneath my feet. I turned to face the group behind me, to check if they had noticed, but what I saw was carnage. It looked like my whole regiment had been slaughtered. Entire families were in groups running away from a web of tanks and soldiers. I witnessed an entire family of a mother, a father, and 3 kids return to red mist by a high explosive shell. I turned away instinctively to save myself from being exposed to too much monstrosity. Then I began to feel a sensation. First it was in my neck, then it spread to my arms, then my legs. I couldn't feel anything. It was like I went numb. Nothing could stop me. I began sprinting towards the carnage in hopes I could maybe save some of my comrades, or maybe even some Livonians. But my senior officer grabbed me by the neck of my uniform and told me, "It's no use killing yourself for glory." That moment never left me. I will never forget the sounds of my comrades and the Livonians being slaughtered in cold blood.
January 17th, 4808. The Jays united called a meeting with several factions to deal with the arising issue the Cheems kingdom at hand. However, only 4 showed up, that being the Popcat, Dorvic, and Doge kingdoms. Invites were sent to the Bingus and Strong kingdoms as well with the Peabody states. However, they declined. As a result of this meeting, the 4 factions formed the Kingdoms of Tomorrow Alliance, or otherwise known as the Cult. January 19th of the same year, Cheems Federation Recon reported the formation of the Cult. In response to the new alliance formed against him, Cellini Alfarado would order the formation of a spy group in order to infiltrate and gain access to Emilian Town. With the group's official name classified, they are referred to as the Spies of the 19th, most commonly by J's and 9 historians. Throughout the group's history, it successfully infiltrated the Allies and posed as civilians, in rare cases, military personnel. This resulted in teams of information being stolen by the Cheems Federation before they were dissolved due to cost issues. On the same day, Jazz United reported a supposed attack on the southern Europe. However, said reports are misinterpreted as an attack planned to focus on the Popcat Kingdom. In response, the Jazz United sent several requests to the Peabody states to fortify defense on the front, all of which were denied, taking into consideration the potential damage it would be caused from the southern front of Europe collapsing. The Jazz United declared war on the Puppet states on February 21st, going through Ukraine onto the eastern front of Hungary to avoid the refined Bingus. The kingdoms of tomorrow were able to maintain a almost flawless victory after just 5 months of a battle, pushing the Puppet states to Slovenia and Croatia with heavy losses. On February 24th of 4808, a Cheems spy brought them reports of the Cold Alliance invading the Puppet states. Taking this in consideration, instead of taking the attack to the Puppet Kingdom, Cheems Alvarado planned a surprise full push through Slovakia and Czechia, believing the refined Bingus would not pose a major threat. However, this was not the case. The refined Bingus were able to deal devastating attacks towards invading forces, severely halting the Cheems invasion, allowing them to only successfully annex northern Czechia after 4 months, which at the time had catched the eye of the Cold Alliance. However, similar to the Cheems Federation, they were forced to advance the refined Bingus territory in order to bring the attack to the enemy, which took an 11-month push, making the battle last over a year. And to top it off, if that was not enough, both the Cheems Federation and the court had already lost over 1 billion troops, and after 8 months due to constant battle and heavy usage of explosive and chemical weapons, Slovakia and Czech were effectively destroyed and ruined beyond repair. And these brought an end to refined Bingus, who were once the largest tribe of the Mendelian side. And as the refined Bingus fell, so did the court's control of southern Slovakia and Czech, as the Cheems Federation were able to push the court to Austria-Hungary. However, luckily, the court were able to hold a steady defensive, preventing the Cheems Federation from capturing further, ending the battle. September 14th, 4810. After a failed attempt to successfully ambush the Cold Alliance, Cheems Alvarado still had high confidence in his army and set interest towards attacking the Bingus kingdom. Alvarado decided to invade Kaliningrad, which was surrounded on all sides, allowing them an easy victory only after 1 month. Bingus troops were completely decimated, and many survivors were executed, with few being taken as prisoners of war.
I was a young kid watching television, seeing our great nation liberate the planet from the evils that be. So I enlisted. I had not seen much combat for a couple of months, but eventually I was deployed to Kaliningrad. I was scared. I remembered hearing the strength of the Bingus kingdom as a child, but when I got there was no defense. We just ran and shot. They weren't prepared. I saw the horror on their faces as we rained artillery upon them. And when we besieged the city, there were no evils there. There was no peace. There was no harmony. We slaughtered them. We killed them. For fun. I witnessed old men gambling for their life over a game of Monopoly. I can't finish this. I just can't. I'm sorry.
Less than 200,000 were able to escape to safety after the brutal attack. The Bingus kingdom had officially entered the war.
Against me and the rest of the kingdom wishes, we have been forced to declare a liberationist war on the Cheems Federation for the unlawful annexation of our beloved historical city of Kaliningrad. Although this news may be sad for some, this war will be over just as quickly as it began. Our generals predict a war less than 8 months in length, ensuring your families will be united once again.
After the successful annexation of the Bingus kingdom, Cheems Alvarado's confidence had only grown. So he decided to begin an invasion into southern Germany, which was under control by the Flopa Kingdom, while at the same time still defending the southern front against the cult. This decision had ultimately backfired. It resulted in severe Cheems casualties, while only being able to make it halfway through southern Germany. Cheems Alvarado then decided to pull troops from the southern front in order to aid the invasion of Flopa Kingdom, and as a result, Cult was able to take southern Czech and Slovakia, ending the invasion of Germany, and beginning anew on the southern front. June 7th, 4811. This day is ultimately recorded as a turning point of the war, and is quite possibly one of the most important dates as well. On this day, the Bingus, Flopa and Strong Kingdom met with the Cult Alliance and negotiated terms to form the Bingus Federation, a new alliance for the purpose dealing with major hostile factions. However, the Flopa Kingdom refused to join the alliance, and instead instituted the Bing Flop truce that would last almost the rest of the war. On June 9th, the Cheems Federation faced serious challenges after their failed effort to annex southern Germany, and with the subsequent formation of the Bingus Federation, in light of these developments, Cheems Alvarado made it a strategic decision to spread his military forces. He ordered an even distribution of troops to the northern, eastern, and southern fronts. This tactic aimed to hold defensive positions while allowing time for the careful planning to prepare for what would be known as a battle in the Boss. As a direct result of this decision, the defenses on the northern front weakened significantly. This opening allowed the Jews United to capitalize on the situation. They launched a successful operation, reclaiming Latvia after a year of struggle. In response to this territorial loss, the Cheems Federation initiated another invasion of the Flopa Kingdom, focusing specifically on the northern free region of Germany. However, the invasion required troops to be drawn from other fronts, a move that would soon reveal its flaws. As the Jews United continued to inflict heavy losses on the northern front, Ferrado was compelled to slow down the invasion of the Flopa Kingdom. The situation escalated as discontent brewed among soldiers and civilians alike. Together, they managed to storm a nearby armory, acquiring weapons and supplies. This event marked the beginning of the robust resistance movement. By 4814, the Cheems Federation had resigned control over northern Germany. This victory gave them access to Flopa ports.
This will most likely be the final message from this station that is a Doge. The army has been completely wiped out by the Cheems, and they're at the gates of Liverpool. I will now be shutting the station down, as the next broadcast from the station will not be Doge. Don't listen to the lies the Cheems spread through the radio. Stay strong, Doges!
The destruction of the Doge Kingdom during the process significantly weakened the Bingus Federation, as it provided most of the supplies. Hearing of the Cheems Federation's success, the revolutionists seized the opportunity to push further against Cheems' rule. They succeeded in claiming northern Poland and western Belarus. Underestimating the resolve, Frodo declared war on the resistance. Simultaneously, Frodo launched yet another campaign, invasion of the Flopa Kingdom, this time directing efforts to southern Germany. Later that year, the Cheems Federation launched an invasion into Spain and the southern legions of France. At the time, these areas were under control of the Chester Kingdom. Chester forces were devastated by Cheems attacks. The Cheems Kingdom had advanced the anti-Ooga Booga technology significantly since the Battle of Regret. This technology, referred to as Iterobrugga, gave the Cheems Federation a major advantage in combat. Recognizing the threat posed by the Cheems Federation potentially capturing France and Spain, the Bingus Federation took swift action. They offered a unique incentive: pizzas. This unusual strategy proved effective, as it not only strengthened the defense of the Chester Kingdom front, but it also boosted morale among the troops and citizens. With the support of the Bingus Federation, the Chester Kingdom became more fortified, and as a result the Cheems Federation faced increased resistance, and thus was unable to expand the territory further. This alliance marked a turning point in the conflict, halting the Cheems' advance and preserving the sovereignty of the Chester Kingdom and its surrounding regions. Back in the homeland, the Cheems resistance managed to break free from Cheems governance after a year of defending against attacks. They established themselves as a new nation of Chaldoris. Surprisingly, within a year of formation, the Cheems Federation found itself in a precocious position, facing challenges from multiple fronts. This struggle marked an important turning point in the ongoing conflict.
We have officially gained independence from the dictatorship of the Cheems Kingdom. Revolutionists are going crazy and vodka is raining from the sky. Today is a great day, perhaps the greatest. We will go down in history. Goodbye, Cheemly L. Fatty.
April 5th, 4816. After the Cheems Kingdom experienced significant increases in resources, the surge allowed them to enhance their defenses substantially on the northern, eastern, and southern fronts. With the stronger defenses in place, they were able to initiate a third invasion of the Flopper Kingdom. This time, their focus shifted towards East Germany. Compared to earlier attempts, this third invasion proved to be the most effective. The Cheems Federation successfully annexed East Germany within a mere 3 months. The rapid gains were a mere testament to their improved resource allocation. In response to this aggressive expansion, the Flopper Kingdom reached out for assistance. They implored the Bingus Federation to send in additional troops to support the defense efforts. However, their request was denied. The Bingus Federation had already stretched thin across other fronts and could not spare any forces. Despite the lack of support from the Federation, the Chester Kingdom stepped in. They sent troops to bolster the Flopper Kingdom's defenses. The Chester Kingdom focused their efforts on disrupting Cheems' supply lines. They deployed naval forces to target Cheems ports in the UK. This action significantly interrupted the flow of supplies to Cheems, slowing their advances. Even with these challenges, the Cheems defenses remained capable of holding on to the territory they had gained. The situation was tense with they maintained control over East Germany. In response to the naval disruptions caused by the Chester Kingdom, the Cheems Federation began developing anti-Chester naval weaponry. This new technology facilitated a faster and smoother flow of supplies to their forces, ensuring they could continue to defend their newly annexed lands effectively. The Cheems Federation demonstrating an overwhelming display of military strength through the significant supply increase and the successful large-scale invasion of the Flopper Kingdom. This show of force deeply worried the Bingus Federation. Leaders within their ranks feared for the future of the nations and recognized the potential for disaster. In response to the escalating threat, the Bingus Federation initiated a covert plot to assassinate Cheems, believing that this drastic action could lead to the end of the war or the ongoing conflict. On May 7th, 4818, the Bingus Federation set in motion their first assassination attempt. They deployed a total of 100 stealth jets in Cheems territory, each aircraft carrying a specialized team of highly trained soldiers. The mission was meticulously planned. 2 teams were assigned a specific task. 20 soldiers would secure high positions to provide tactical support, while 30 soldiers would aim to infiltrate the main governmental building where Cheems was believed to be located. The remaining 40 soldiers had their important duty of defending the area around the operation. Unfortunately, the mission was a failure. Enemy anti-stealth defenses were stronger than anticipated, resulting in a loss in more than half the jets during the operation. The few jets that managed to land did so under severe stress and quickly retreated to a nearby abandoned building. For 2 weeks, they held out against Cheems' forces. Ultimately, they were overwhelmed, captured and executed without any chance of escape. There were no survivors from the mission. After the unsuccessful attempt to assassinate Cheems Alvarado, the Bingus Federation shifted its focus to diplomacy. On July 18, 4818, a high-level negotiations began with the newly established nation of Childorus. These talks continued for over 2 months, reflecting the urgency of the situation. Ultimately, Childorus allowed the Bingus Federation to mobilize its military forces and position defensive units along the eastern front of Childorus. This move was seen as essential for maintaining stability in the region and allowed for future plans to ensue. In exchange for this military support, the Bingus Federation offered to pardon Childorus from all war crimes committed during its time in the Cheems Federation. Additionally, the Childorus secured a promise of protection from future attacks by Cheems forces. Despite these agreements, not everyone was in favor of the terms reached. Pupupus Il Zadudo and Jesito III, leaders of the Podcast and Jesni United, expressed strong objections, while typically concerning the pardoning of Childorus, as their nations had suffered greatly during the conflict, bearing the brunt of the war's toll. However, their protests were largely overlooked by other leaders who were eager to secure what they viewed as a swift and easy victory. This disregard for concerns of the Podcast and Jazz United further strained relationships among the members of the Bingus Federation Alliance. After the negotiations concluded, a code of silence was imposed on all the parties involved. This agreement aimed to ensure that the details of the negotiations among the leaders will remain confidential. A few days after the negotiations were finalized, Operation ICK Jazza was set to launch. This operation was a covert pilot by the Bingus Federation to infiltrate the Cheems Federation by sending spies to Tefera Gate. These spies were instructed to disguise themselves as Childorus citizens. At the time, many Childorus citizens were seeking to reform and rejoin the Cheems Federation, so the spies would blend in easily. The ultimate decision was to gather intelligence and plan the assassination of Cheems Alvarado. However, carrying weapons in the Cheems Federation posed significant challenges. The Tefera Gate was heavily guarded, and their inspections made it difficult to smuggle anything dangerous. To overcome the obstacle, the Bingus Federation allocated over $22.1 million for the operation. This money was used to smuggle materials inside of the Cheems Federation to build weapons. After a complex effort, some spies successfully entered the Cheems Federation with the allocated materials. Unfortunately, the Operation Darko was planned, as majority of the spies were captured during their mission. Many faced brutal executions for their roles in the espionage. 1 month later, on November 17th, 4813, during a speech, the tyrannical ruler, Cheems Alvarado, was assassinated by a Bingus Federation spy as a part of code of ICK Jazza. Immediately after, the massive crowd listening to the speech began destroying everything and started rioting. None of the spies who had successfully infiltrated the Cheems Federation had survived the aftermath, and were all caught and brutally slaughtered. This attack on the Cheems kingdom set in stone the ending of the Cheems Wars, as the next leader was not as brilliant.
Alright, folks, I really hope you fools at home are ready for this absolutely beautiful game of the weekend clash. Attended by none other than the man himself, Cheems Alvarado, and his vice, Randamil Shavik. Wait, what's that glint over there? On the roof of the memorial building. What the hell was that? Holy shit! Oh, Fredo's dead. His head's gone. Oh my, he's dead.
1 week later, Raen was brought into power through a fake election. Many believe the election was faked and that Shavik was handpicked beforehand, as the opposing politician was assassinated, and many of the Cheems Federation had voted for them. For these reasons, this day is known as a random Shavik election.
If only Lecter had killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Directly after El Ferredo's death, Shavik came into power as leader of the Cheems kingdom. Even though the Cheems was a monarchy, strangely, the rest of the Cheems family was sent into exile right after Randamir Shavik came to power. But nonetheless, nobody wanted this man. Nobody even wanted to have a leader anymore. The Cheems were less than normal people, now reduced to slaves serving the kingdom and her wars.
On September 30th, 4818, Randamir Shavik made a bold and risky move by ordering a surprise invasion of the Childoris nation. In a swift and aggressive decision, he deployed over 1 billion troops to carry out this operation. Troops were pulled from the eastern and northern fronts, a choice that would later haunt Shavik. The lack of defenses left the borders vulnerable, leading to future catastrophic consequences. The guards in place were quickly overwhelmed by the sheer force of the invasion. They were the first casualties, unable to withstand the relentless assault. Tragically, many civilians also lost their lives in the chaos that followed, caught in the crossfire of the conflict. This brutal invasion sparked a response from the Bingus Federation. Within 3 days, they mobilized and sent over 1.4 million troops to aid in the defense of Childoris, honoring their commitments. Along the troops, notable leaders Bingus I and Bupez Duda were chosen to fight along their soldiers. Their personal involvement inspired many, but also placed them in a grave danger. Sadly, both leaders would lose their lives during the fierce fighting, leaving billions in mourning. After 4 vigorous months of fierce battle, the tide turned in the favor of the Bingus Federation. Their determination led to a hard-fought victory. Cheems' forces were forced to retreat, marking a significant defeat for them. In the aftermath, Bingus II took over leadership of the Bingus Kingdom, and Pupizin Galzatse emerged as a new leader of the Pupkat Kingdom. And due to their victory, the war took a heavy toll on Cheem resources and troops. The intense conflict left the Cheems Federation severely depleted. With their supplies waning, they became vulnerable to future attacks. The consequences of invasion would be felt long after the battle ended, shaping the political landscape for coming years.
Attention to the great people of not just the Jersey United, the Bingus Kingdom, but the free world. Today is a very, very sad day. 2 of our great nation's leaders have died in combat. That being Bingus the First and Bobsy Zildudum. The nations of Bingus and Bulbakat are in misery, and billions are mourning. Nevertheless, we shall move on and stop the evil and Karachen forces. Justice will be served. The line has been crossed.
When the rest of the army reorganized, Bingus stepped up to speak. He towered over the rest of us. His sheer presence intimidated us, and also gave us the will to fight at the same time. Pupis El Duda almost had just as intimidating, but he harbored a look of fear in his eyes. Pupis remarked that what he had seen inside those walls was horrific, but none of us expected that to be true. We all thought he was trying to get us to stay together and stay alert. But soon,
After we got inside the city, a civilian approached us. He spoke in a frantic and traumatized tone. The civilian exclaimed, "Everyone is dead! We're all..." Bingus stepped up to him and spoke to him. None of us even knew what Bingus had said, but nonetheless we were petrified. We went deeper into the city, and after about half an hour, we reached the city center, a mass of rubble and blood leaking from the crushed buildings. Rufus finally found a small place to mark as a refuge area, but there's nothing much, just a small cave inside of a massive rubble. What was inside is what traumatized us. Bodies decorated the walls, crushed in between the rubble, almost as if they had been juiced like a fruit. The sight alone made me retch. But when the building shifted, causing a body just above me to get crushed enough to cover me completely in blood, I had to sprint out of the cave, just to puke up my meal before, then to do it again and again, till all that came out was bile. When the rest of the team came out, so did Bingus and Pubas. Bingus, with a solemn tone, said, "The city wasn't even evacuated." Then Bingus warned, "The civilians may have set up militias. It may surprise us if we weren't paying attention. Due to the amount of civilians that weren't evacuated, they could also receive artillery support or support if things were down. To avoid any more civilian casualties, my comrades, I'm sorry. To avoid any more civilian casualties, they didn't use artillery or air. My comrades laughed at how I responded to a body literally being juiced onto me. Like they wouldn't have done the same thing. Everywhere we went, there were masses of bodies under every piece of rubble, bodies in the streets, bodies under cars, bodies under buildings, and even under our feet. Concrete walls laid in the streets, the rebar jutting out like angry serpents. Since the railway system inside the city had been destroyed, it was a long walk to the others. It took hours. My feet were bloodied with blisters from all the walking, and I was still soaked in blood. Inside the city, nobody was there. Only the putrefied corpses of the first skirmishes in the city just 8 days prior. The only guards left had been killed by militias inside the city. Bingus must have picked up something from the air or something, because all of a sudden he yelled out, "Get the hell out of the cover and fight us!" We all thought he was crazy, but we stood with our rifles at the ready. Then we looked like kids, began sprinting towards us. There were 4 of them. They didn't look over. They didn't look a year over 8. Rufus, who had experience with urban warfare, yelled, "Stop now! Stop! Kids, stop running!" The children had a red face as if they were crying. Nobody did anything to stop the children. Running towards them. And when they got to the group, one of them tackled, or at least tried to tackle his. But the moment they did, a fiery explosion erupted, flinging me back far and leaving my head burning and my mind racing. I felt lightheaded and
I looked over to where the children were, and all there was my dis- dismembered and I might have dead comrades. My my battle buddy, he was missing both of his legs, and he kept calling my name, screaming for help. I I, I couldn't move them. I looked down at my legs and they were gone. I, I didn't feel anything. My head still told me my legs were there, but I saw nothing. Just two bloodied stumps. I wanted to get to my buddy, who was calling my name, but before I could even move, it was over the hill. His voice began to slur, and it began to quiet. Then, then, then he, 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 he stopped breathing. I, I, I don't, I don't want to speak anymore. I, I'm sorry.
On February 24th, 4819, just weeks later, the Bingus Federation had taken advantage of the recent losses of the Cheems Federation and began closing in on Lithuania and Belarus, both of which been under Cheems rule almost since the beginning of the conflict. Cheems forces were unprepared for the invasion and had little supplies and were easily pushed out of the majority of Northern Europe with no help from the leader. 3 billion Cheems troops were killed, with the Bingus Federation only facing 150 million casualties. The ending of the war was drawing closer, with the Cheems Federation losing significant amounts of territory and the Bingus Federation still fighting strong.
The day the Cheems Kingdom fell would be moment. I'd say we doing very well before Shevik became leader. We thought he'd be great, but we were wrong, especially after the Battle of Tofera Gate. What? What? Don't tell me what to do. I'll get off topic if I want. No. Shut up. I am not doing this. I'm leaving.
1 week after, the Bingus Federation began a full-scale invasion of the Cheems capital, known as Chipadil. The urgency of the situation prompted Shevik, the leader of the Cheems, to take drastic measures. Fearing for his own safety, he ordered troops from all fronts to converge on the capital for protection. This decision left many territories vulnerable without any military presence. Nearly 40% of the troops retreating faced heavy gunfire and were killed before they could reach the homeland. The situation grew increasingly dire as the months passed. The Bingus Federation showed no signs of slowing down. They relentlessly pushed their defenses, overcoming all obstacles and resistance. Many Cheems troops, feeling hopeless, began to surrender. A few, in a moment of despair, chose to take their own lives rather than face capture. In a matter of time, the Bingus Federation managed to conquer the capital city, solidifying their control of the region. Despite the significant loss, Shevik vanished without a trace. The Cheems wars, once filled with fierce battles and strong resolve, were nearing the end, and the Cheems kingdom was effectively destroyed.
Attention, all civilians of Cheems Kingdom. We have fallen. Capital has been lost, and our leader has vanished. However, we will not go out without a fight. Our glory will never be extinguished. They will ask for peace. On their surface, it will sound good, but never agree. They will send us for prisoners for years. They will try to destroy our pride, our dignity, and our culture. We will never stand for it. I won't. So fight back. Fight back as to join the last resistance of our own culture, so we may preserve the power of the Cheems Kingdom. If you are with us, live to 92 Shevik Square. We are taking our position and defending against the odds. If you do not respond to our call, we will not let you be spared. We will kill all who commit treason against our nation. The ones who betray us will face gruesome slow death. His message will be soon, but spread the message. The name of Narrator will live on.
After the Cheems Federation was destroyed, remaining forces showed little resistance. Many soldiers chose to surrender rather than continue fighting, and were quickly taken as prisoners of war. In contrast, numerous civilians took a stand against the invading Bingus Federation forces. Many of these rebels were shot as a result of their defiance. Those who survived the conflict were absorbed in the Bingus Federation, losing their former identity. Negotiations with the Cheems Federation were minimal. Most of the governmental leaders had either lost their sanity in the chaos or tried to flee, resulting in their deaths. In the aftermath of the war, no reparations were offered to those who suffered. However, the land that had been taken by the Cheems Federation was returned to its original owners, restoring us some small measure of order. The United Kingdom was divided and redistributed. Parts of it were given to the Jersey United and the Popcat Kingdom, marking a new territorial arrangement. While the war had come to an end, the destruction and suffering of left behind could not easily be repaired. The damage lingered, and communities struggled to rebuild in the aftermath of the conflict. The scars of the battle remained visible as the region tried to move forward from this painful chapter.
When I heard the Cheems Wars had ended, I was ecstatic. Very much so. For the last few years, we had been starving, eating what little scraps we could find. I thought the ending of the war would stop the famine. But nothing changed. We continued to starve, and our so-called leaders did nothing about it. Any resistance, even those of non-violence, was swiftly annihilated. It was clear change was brought. It lasted this way for 12 years after the war. We may have lost millions, but we lost billions after.
I was there from the beginning to the end, from the invasion of Poland to the attack on the Traitor Island. I fought almost every war. Survived Gunshot, survived explosions, killed enemy soldiers. But was I thanked? No. Were the fallen horde? No. After we were just tossed to the side, as if we were just pawns of a chess game. You know, I once thought war was fought for peace. But was there peace for us?
Gonna go to Nevada, eat some tacos. Gonna go crazy with a minigun. Gonna play banjos, playing Johnny Guitar, Johnny Guitar. War never changes. War never changes. Pippin' my pip boy, gonna sell your mama, gonna win 1 million, yeah. We can purify the water. We can visit shady sands. We can help the Commonwealth and protect the settlers of the land. But that ain't gonna happen, 'cause I'm about to nuke Japan. War never changes. War never changes. Pippin' my pit boy, gonna sell your mama, gonna win 1 million, yeah. Super mutants knocking at my door. Gotta go now, gonna eat some meat. Gonna smash metal pipe on human guy. War never changes.